I'll just read the question. The report on the Government Administration Committee on the 2008-09 Financial Review of State Services Commission be noted. Grant Roberts.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. What the Financial Review of the State Services Commission tells us is that the government actually doesn't have a coherent plan for how to establish public services that are relevant and proper for the 21st century. What it has done is a series of moves that are nothing more than smoke and mirrors. And in the Government Administration Committee, we looked into the question of what are frontline staff. This is one of the big centrepieces of the national government's public sector policy, moving more people to the front line, out of the back room into the front line, delivering services to New Zealand. And what we discovered, Mr Chair, in the financial review process is that there's no definition of frontline staff. No definition whatsoever of what frontline staff in the public service actually are or actually do. And in fact, as we look across the financial reviews, Mr Chair, we can see that there are a variety of definitions of frontline staff. Archives New Zealand is a government agency that I think does an excellent job, very, very good and efficient outfit. They told the Select Committee that they have 80% of their staff on the front line. Now, not even I, as a great supporter of Archives New Zealand, believe that they can really be saying that 80% of their staff are frontline. But the reality is, Mr Chair, that there is no definition of this, and this is the centrepiece of the national government's policy. We asked a number of other agencies. Some of them told us that the State Services Commission was developing a definition. Some of us told us that the State Services Commission had given them a definition. Absolutely no clarity about one of the most central points in this government's policy, the idea that there will be more people on the front line. But perhaps it's not too surprising that National wants to mask some of this, because one of the things that did come clear was when the Ministry of Education told us that the percentage of people working as frontline staff in 2008 was 57%. In 2009, it had gone down to 53%. So the number of frontline staff in the Ministry of Education actually declined in this national government's first year in office. So much for a policy to move staff to the front line, give New Zealand public the services they deserve. We can actually see by these financial reviews that the percentage of staff working in the Ministry of Education at the front line went down. It's all smoke and mirrors when it comes to the public sector, Mr Chair, and there is no coherent plan. And this became very evident on radio last week when the Minister of Education, Anne Tolley, was asked about the $25 million cut to the Ministry of Education. She was asked what programs would be cut, what activities would be cut, and she told Radio New Zealand, I don't know. I don't know. We know it's going to be 25 million, but we don't know what the programs and the services are. That is completely the wrong approach, Mr Chair, to state services. What New Zealanders deserve is a government that's actually looking to see what are the outcomes we want from the public sector, what are the kinds of services that New Zealanders need and deserve, and then let's build the ministries to deliver on that. But instead, what we hear from Anne Tolley is, I don't know. It's 25 million. It's just a dollar figure. That's the problem with the national government's approach to the state sector. Penny pinching, not prepared to invest, not prepared to ask the questions about what actually the outcomes are here. Just want to cut into that. So there's a complete farce in this policy. We started off at the start of this term with a cap on the public sector. No cuts, just a cap on the public sector. We know that's wrong. More than 1,500 jobs gone out of the public sector. But it's the frontline services that are going that matters. Child, youth and family, at the border, biosecurity staff. What could be more important as a public service provided to New Zealanders than protecting our borders? And the national government have made indiscriminate cuts. It's not about what the best services could be for New Zealanders. It's actually about putting in place ideological funding cuts right across the board. That is not going to deliver us the public sector that New Zealanders want. Mr Chair, when we look overall at the performance of the State Service Commission, there have to be questions to be asked about its future. The work of e-government has been done by the Department of Internal Affairs. The work on government procurement has been done by the Ministry of Economic Development, and the work on productivity in the state sector has been done by Treasury. There's very little left for the State Services Commission to actually be doing. Its future must be in question. But once again, what we're seeing coming out now from the State Services Commission is seemingly random restructuring. Let's bring Archives New Zealand back inside the Department of Internal Affairs. This went out in the 1990s because we realised that it was time to give Archives New Zealand its own mandate, its own ability to get other public service departments to deposit their records. That's why it was done, yet it's now been put back in the Department of Internal Affairs. There is no coherent plan. Why is the national government not going back and looking, for instance, at the State Sector Act and saying, how can we organise public services to be delivered in a coordinated manner? That's what New Zealanders want, and it's not coming from this government.
Mr. Chair.